So people ask me, who learns Welsh anyway? And I thought I'd just put together a very small list for you to know who learns Welsh and why. So from the people that I get who want to learn Welsh, I've roughly put them into 5 categories, although this might be very limited. So number 1, we have people with some kind of Welsh roots or connections. So maybe they're in the States, maybe they're in Wales, but they found out they had a Welsh grandparent, or maybe they spoke Welsh when they were a child and they want to get it back. 2, people who've retired and they want something to do. And what better way to keep the brain active than to have a little bit of a language to learn? And why Welsh? Well, again, it could be that they have connections and roots. It could just be that they heard the language and they really like the sound of it. But it gives them something to do and a way to stay motivated. So why not? 3, the polyglots. So the polyglot community are people who try to learn, I think, as many languages as possible. And not total fluency, but to kind of conversational abilities. So Welsh is cool, I guess, as a language to learn in the polyglot community, and so I've had quite a few people from there coming to me for lessons. 4, linguist nerds, people who love grammar and the history and etymology of words, and they found Welsh somehow. Sometimes it's through studying something like Old English and then they found out that Welsh is a thing, or through some other way they've discovered it. And these people usually are really fascinated by the grammatical structures and they want to know every little detail about it, and also they're likely to be very interested in Welsh culture and history as well. 5, miscellaneous. So I put everyone else in this category, but there are people who maybe have children who they want to teach Welsh to, people who have just heard Welsh and think that it sounds beautiful and a bit like Elvish in Lord of the Rings. Fun fact, Tolkien was inspired by Welsh when he created Elvish. And also people who travel to Wales frequently or who live in Wales and think that it's about time that they learn the Welsh language. I taught a man in Argentina who had visited Oladva, which is the Welsh-speaking part of Argentina. That's a story for another time, but he had fallen in love with the language so much and decided that he wanted to learn it there. Had an old retired man in Italy who just liked the sound of the language and wanted something to do, and I've taught people from all over, mostly England, Wales, the US, but also people in Argentina, Poland, France, Spain, lots of different places. So some people ask me, why learn Welsh? What's the point of learning a language if everyone in Wales speaks English anyway? And to that I say, that's kind of missing the point. It's kind of sad. So when you learn a language, you're not just learning new words, you're learning the history of a people and a culture and a specific way of thinking. And if you start to apply that new lens onto a way of seeing the world, you're going to learn so much more about those people than reading history in English can ever tell you. Think of the poetry, the literature that you would have access to if you're able to actually understand that language. And as you learn languages, you learn too that things don't directly translate and map, so you can't just take a sentence in English and directly translate it and have the same meaning. There are words and concepts and ideas that exist in one language that don't really exist in another. And through learning a language, you're really learning about a people. Of course, not everyone has the privilege of being able to learn a language just for leisure and fun and joy, right? I understand that sometimes people have to learn a language for economic reasons. Welsh is unlikely to be one of those languages unless you're living in Wales, in which case you might need to speak Welsh for certain jobs, but mostly this is a language people learn for beauty and to understand history and culture and to really get a feel for something. And I think Welsh touches quite a deep spiritual part of a lot of people. Maybe especially people who have some Celtic origins, because they feel that call in their blood to come back to something older. And so, if anyone tells you that there's no point in learning Welsh, then I feel sorry for those people. Because to do things only to further your own economic status, to do things only because they'll get you further ahead on that ladder or that rat race, that's not a very soulful way to live, don't you think? Anyway, hopefully that's cleared up some of your questions about who learns Welsh and why they learn Welsh. And you can watch this exact same video, more or less, in Welsh to see if you're able to understand me. Okay, so thank you and diolch yn fawr.